Hello everyone, I just finished doing the install of my 4th gen 6C combiner and 4 10C batteries. And when I started doing the research for it, I realized that there really wasn't much information out there in regards to self-install, and really not too much information from Enphase either. A lot of little short videos from Enphase University, but they didn't really dive into too much detail. They were kind of just giving more of the capabilities of the system rather than install tips or help. I'm just going to do a quick overview in this video of kind of what I did to get this done, and if there's more demand, if you want to post in the comments, if you want a deeper dive or if you have any questions in regards to the install process, I can either do another video or respond in the comments to try to help you guys out. I think somebody else, having posted a video of how to would have made this process maybe a little bit easier for me. Anyways, start over here at the meter, and sorry about the video. As you can tell, I'm using the collar here, and I am in Houston, Texas. So unfortunately, CenterPoint Energy did not approve the collar for an install over the meter. I even reached out to them and told them that I would send them the collar if they want to do some kind of bench test on it, just to see if we can get it approved. And they responded saying that they have no desire whatsoever at this time to get it approved. So anyways, if your utility does not approve a meter collar installed directly over the or under the meter, then you need to get another meter socket downstream of your meter and have it installed, and that is where your collar resides. So it makes the install a little bit more complicated, but it's not the end-all be-all of the install. And then I tried to reutilize as many parts from my Gen 3 system as possible. I did get a Gen 3 system installed about 3 years ago with 16 kilowatts, 40 panels on the roof. Unfortunately, to get the 10C batteries, you had to upgrade to the 4th gen system. Which actually I'm pretty happy with. The Combiner 6C is just so much better than the 3rd gen system controller and combiner that were two separate pieces of equipment. Anyways, I kept the grid disconnect from my previous install. I had to move it, obviously, and it is a 2-pole, and the Combiner 6C recommends a 3-pole for their AC sense disconnect. And basically what the AC sense disconnect does is when you turn off the grid, that third pole connects into the AC sense and it shuts down the batteries and the solar at the same time. I didn't want to pay $500 for a new quick disconnect. That was 3-pole, so I utilized the 2-pole that I have. And then I kept the PV disconnect that the previous installer had installed and used that for the AC sense. So now instead of just pulling one lever, you have to pull this lever and turn this switch. Not really a big deal, as long as it is something where the fire department doesn't have to open a door to get to. It meets code. If there is a code in Houston, I couldn't tell you, but this is the previous company had this installed, so I thought if they needed it out there, I'm going to do the same thing. The combiner does have the capability of doing storage solar shutdown from their PV breaker, and but there was notes in there. So the PV aggregate breaker, basically, if you just turn this off, it will shut down everything on the solar and battery side. But I was reading that some places require the ease of access. They don't want you to have to open a door to get to the shutdown. So I thought might as well reutilize everything and be as safe as possible. So anyways, so this right here goes, and there's an AC sense, and let's see if I can find it on this number 13. Here's your AC sense, and basically it comes bridged together with a wire, and then you can take that bridge off and wire in your rapid shutdown switch. Or if you do utilize a 3-pole, the third pole would come to that AC sense on number 13 here. And while I got you here, I will say that this diagram is probably got 90% of the information you will need for this install. What's funny is this door is super easy to take off. It just slides up off the hinges. And initially, when I did the install, I removed the door just because I didn't want it banging back and forth. I didn't want to damage it. And it's a nice little finish on the outside. I came to a realization pretty quick that I was referencing all kinds of different pages in the manual just to get information that was readily available here. It's got layouts, diagrams, it's got torque settings up here, it's got max amperages, and a big point of contention, and I actually got incorrect information the first time I called Enphase because the system's so new for them as well. It talks about your backfeed, and here's your backfeed, and it says right here backfeed 100 amps, and down here it says total distributed energy is 160 amps. So when I was trying to set up my backfeed, I wanted to know if I could do it on a backfeed breaker, and ultimately the answer was going to be no for my setup. But I thought the backfeed was 160 amps initially because the DER said 160, and if you don't reference this, you don't see it very easily in the manual. And I called Enphase, and they told me that the backfeed is 160 amps, which was incorrect. The backfeed is limited to 100 amps. The DER is limited to 160, but that's, combining your charger, your solar, your batteries. That is total distribution is limited to 160 amps. So the combiner itself within its distribution bus, it can put out 160 amps. The backfeed, however, to your grid is limited to 100 amps. So whenever you're doing that calculation, hopefully that helps clarify what your limits are in that sense. I ended up using lugs at the main panel and connected straight to the mains going into my main panel, and didn't use a backfeed breaker. And in my scenario, I have a 200 amp panel and 150 amp breaker. So my backfeed limit is 90 amps. And I wanted to utilize all 100 amps. I know it's kind of silly for 10 amps, but I wanted to use the maximum backfeed capability of the system. So I actually tied into the main lines going into my main breaker with lugs, just so there's no circuit breaker limit. And also, if you do the 120% rule for the breaker, then I don't know, maybe my limits would have been even worse. But anyways, moving on. I will say when you're installing the batteries, using this flexible non-metallic conduit is huge. I can't imagine once the wall side battery is installed how you could do rigid conduit. Again, I'm not a professional installer. I'm sure there's an easy way to do it that I couldn't think of, by maybe sliding the rigid conduit back and forth to get the collars on and getting it installed. But for me, being able just to basically bend the conduit down and up to get it installed on either side was way easier than doing rigid. And the combiner comes with 3 mounting templates, those metal plates right there. And that was another point of confusion. In the manual, it says that it comes pre-installed with 2 1-inch plates, one on the left side and one on the right side, so right side and left side. That is actually not accurate. There are 3 plates total. There's a 1-inch, a 1 1/4 inch, and a 1 and a 3/4 inch template, and that is it. So I utilized the 1 1/4 inch on my battery side, and I used the 1 inch on my solar side, because the previous install was 1 inch. So that worked out pretty well for me. And I wanted to utilize the biggest opening possible on this side, because what I did was run one singular conduit all the way through. So basically, for each battery, you have the two lines, the neutral, and the COM cable, and as you get closer, so not an issue here, you know, your wire in a I want to say ground, yeah, and the ground, and your wiring is not that big of a deal in a 1¼ inch. But when you get past here, now you got double the wiring, right? Because now you've got more wiring from this battery, and then when you get here, you got the most amount of wiring. So you really want to get a 1¼ inch. It barely fit, and it was a tight fit. And I will say, whenever you're doing an install, if you do the non-metallic, just because it is sticky, because it's kind of rubberized, make sure you run your COM cables first. They are equally as sticky. You do not want to run them last. If you do, they will not slide through this pipe whatsoever. They'll get stuck, and then you might tear them. So install tip, run your COM cables first, and then run your electrical wiring. And the first time I installed the wiring, I kind of didn't really pay attention to making sure that all the wires were coming through straight. And it was so hard by the time I got here to run the wiring into the combiner, because they were all kind of rotating around through the tubing, that I eventually gave up, and I actually pulled all the wiring back out and redid it perfectly straight. And once you do it that way, it is so much easier to run everything through. So basically, I set up my first set of batteries, the battery 1 and battery 2, to IQ battery 1. And so basically these wires came in straight, connected directly into the breaker. And then battery 2 is battery number 3, battery number 4, connected straight into breaker number 2. And pretty easy run. Not much room here for running wires. So you definitely, if you install, I would definitely recommend utilizing the side port. It makes the connection so much easier. I mean, I barely had enough room to run the neutrals down and the COM cables down on the side here, and the grounds to get them to fit. They don't really, they give you room on this side, and they even have an area for you to actually latch wires onto. But for this side, they're like, nope. So pretty tight fit over here. Definitely try to utilize this side install access. I can't imagine doing it from the bottom and running all these wires up. I mean, obviously it's possible, but you're just gonna have a ton of wires clumped up here. So that made it really easy. I already installed my EV charger circuit breaker, because I'm gonna go ahead and install the Gen 2 charger here shortly. I do like that it kind of works. If you have an Emporia charger, it kind of works like the same way as an Emporia charger, except you don't have to do CTs on every breaker. And basically what will happen is the charger will talk to the combiner and realize, hey, you know, he's overproducing, use that overproduction to charge the car. And you know, so it's a pretty flexible system in regards to how to utilize the solar and how do you charge the car. The other thing that I will say is, when you're running your wiring on top, there's also not very much room in the little pans that they create to run wiring through. I ended up, I want to say, in one of these batteries, the COM cable, there's two batteries, right? So the wall side and the user side battery, and each one of them has a pan that you run the wires through. Well, you're utilizing the wall side, right, to run all your wiring to the combiner. The only thing you're using the user side pan for is to run wiring and connect it back to the wall side portion of the battery. So you're combining both batteries together. I ended up on one of these, I ended up running the COM cable on the user side pan. So it's a little bit longer of a run just to get around the multitude of wires that I had to run through just to get all these batteries set up. So 1.25 is probably barely enough room to get all the wiring through, but it will do it. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I will say that the support when it came to commissioning also was a little bit of a headache. When I started the commissioning process, it gave me an Enphase a certification warning for my backup loads. So if you're familiar with the Gen 3, the combiner is its own separate unit, and the system controller is its own separate unit, and the Combiner 60 has all of it together, which is nice. So before, my PV came down to a combiner that was right here, and that basically combined all 4 branches of my PV, and then it sent it to the old system controller, which was here, and that's what basically controlled the solar and the grid side, and obviously the comm panel. And so on my old system, my 3rd gen, I had partial sunlight backup. So I had 2 load controllers that were installed, I don't know, somewhere around here, and I had a secondary backup panel. And when I was doing the commissioning for the system, it gave me a warning for certification for backup loads, and I had pulled those off. I mean, everything was removed. The partial sunlight backup wasn't being utilized anymore, and it would not let me commission the system because I was not certified for backup loads on Enphase University. So I called them up and I said, hey guys, I understand that that I'm getting a certification warning on this, but I'm like, I've already pulled the backup loads off. I'm not even utilizing them. The system doesn't even, not even yet. I mean, it's still a software update that's going to be pushed that where you can use this load controller for backup heavy loads if you want to. Like you see here, it says loads or subpanel or uncontrolled PV. So basically, if you have like third-party PV, you can tie it in here to this. So anyways, it's something that they're going to be pushing in a software update. It might be pushed now, but anyways, I'm like, I'm not using the backup loads. I got whole home backup set up, so I don't even need the backup load panels, and they would not give me the certification for it. We kept on going back and forth, and I'm like, can you at least remove them? And he didn't know how to remove them. Well, in the toolkit, when you're doing the initial setup, it shows, once you scan everything, it shows all your equipment. And it showed the 2 load controllers that I had, and they were grayed out. It would not let me remove them. It would not let me do anything to get them off the system. But when I was doing the commissioning, I had to back all the way back out, and then I went to remove or replace, I believe, under system settings, remove and replace. And under remove and replace, there's an option for decommissioning or retiring, I believe. I believe it's called retiring. So I retired both load controllers and removed them from the system. Well, then I went back to the commissioning again, and now it wanted me to scan for new load controllers. And I'm like, oh man, so I thought I was stuck again. But then I backed all the way out to the home page again, and I saw my equipment screen, and at that point I clicked on it, and it gave me a detail shot of the equipment again. And because now there was no load controllers installed, I could actually remove them from that page. So once they were actually retired, you can remove them. So once I remove them, then I can continue with commissioning system. So unfortunately, Enphase support was no help whatsoever in that. And the support guy did say he was new on the Gen 4 system, so he wasn't as well versed, so he didn't know how to do it. So I kind of fumbled my way through. So anyways, if you do have partial sunlight backup and you need to remove those load controllers, don't go do the certification. Don't get forced into doing the certification. You can actually remove them by retiring them and then remove them from the system before you even start the commissioning process. And the other part is that because the commissioning took so long because of that hurdle, the sun was setting, and step 6 in the commissioning was post. Man, what was it called? It was some kind of check that it was like a post install check. It kept on failing. And I called them again and they said, is the sun out? And I said, no, it's sun's set. And they're like, okay, well, I will force the check, but tomorrow when you wake up and there's sunlight, of course, there's no sunlight, the process should be completed. And it ended up completing the process yesterday. So it just took a long time. It kept on getting to step number 6 and it failed over and over again, and eventually passed the test. So everything's up and running. I'm super excited. It won't let me change anything on the homeowners app in regards to how I utilize the batteries until they are charged to 100%. And I wanted to charge them just on PV. I do have a free nights plan, so I think tonight when free nights kicks in, I will change. Oh, actually, it won't let me change anything, which is kind of funny. It won't let me change anything until they're complete charged. So hopefully the first sunny day they get charged up, and then I'll be able to change their utilization to where they charge during my free nights, which is for me is 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I've already set up the car. We have an electric car. I've set that up to charge only between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. So basically, this system will be like I'm not even grid tied, hopefully. I mean, obviously, I still got center point, but my hopes is that once these guys are charged, during the day when the sun's out, the solar will basically supply electricity to the home. When it's overcast like this, the batteries will provide the power. And then once 8 p.m. hits, then the batteries will go offline and charge. I'll utilize the grid for my free nights. And then 6 a.m., the batteries will take over until there's enough sunlight to provide enough electricity for the home. So pretty excited. I was able to get pretty good pricing from, man, what were they called? I'll leave it in the comments. I know when I was on the forums, somebody talked about them as a company, and they're like, it sounds like they're a scam because their office is in a totally different building or something, but they're actually an approved vendor on Enphase's website. So they gave me a really good deal. Shipping was lightning quick. I actually had to get it delayed because I was going out of the country for vacation. Super easy to deal with. There was always somebody on the phone that I can speak to. They gave me a volume discount because I bought more batteries. And they helped me out with the collar cover. Is made by somebody else. This one is just a Enphase branded one. It wasn't even on the website yet, but they told me, hey, as soon as we get a SKU for it, we'll ship you out one, no problem. And they were able to do that. I was able to get everything from them: the comm cables, the handles. Oh, by the way, each one of these batteries, right? There's a stack of 2 in each one of these. Each one of these batteries is about 130 pounds by the handles. The carrying handles to put these things up make this process so much easier. You don't have to worry about damaging any of the microinverters that are on the sides. There's basically 2 handles, one on each side that basically is about right here, and obviously on the opposite side. And then they tell you that there's an area on the bottom that you can actually lift the battery from. And those are the only 2 places that they allow you to touch the battery when you're installing it. And the handles, they are expensive, but totally worth it. And I will say they're actually a pretty good quality piece of equipment, or a tool. They're worth the price. They're very weighty and they got a nice rubberized grip on them, but it facilitated the install of the batteries. They do not come with the batteries, by the way. You have to buy the handles separately, and I want to say they're like 140 bucks, 130 bucks, but definitely worthwhile. And I will say having the right tools for the job made the process so much easier. I have so many one-use tools now. It's kind of comical, but I would definitely do it the same way again. So anyways, leave comments below if you guys have any questions, and I will do the best I can to answer any questions you guys have. Hopefully I can help somebody out in their install. Take care.